I want to start with the doctor first because, you know, I want to talk about the psychological, social issues that affect hair bias. Can you just give us an overview of what you've seen in your office? Like the real dirt. I want greasy, I want it down, like people crying. Tell us.
Don't violate HIPAA, though.
I mean, don't violate the person, but their privacy.
I'm not going to violate HIPAA. I mean, when it boils down to it, I think that we really touched on this topic before, which is that the generations before us had to do what they had to do to live with the racial realities of that time. And so we need to understand that they didn't have a choice. You know, I mean, everyone has choice, but in terms of wanting to put food on the table and just wanting to get by and live with the world as it was, compromises had to be made. And so that looks like me seeing someone in their early 20s who's beginning to understand this issue and telling me stories about things that grandma said. Mm-hmm. So a lot in the movie, there's a whole section on the family, and it's really painful. And Black people do not want to be on camera talking bad about their family. And so it was very challenging as a filmmaker to get people to be honest. And I tried to tell them, like, this is about your healing, and also this is about the healing of our community. Yes. And also I'm presenting this in a compassionate way. You know, I think the difference between this movie and Chris's Rock's movie is about the intention. And the intention was not to be shaming, but the intention was to be compassionate, because I think that's the only way that healing happens, is to come from a compassionate space.
Thank you for that.
And so, yeah, you know, one of the people in the movie, you know, grandma would look at her hair and call her a monkey. That's not good. That's not good, right? But how can we deal with the hurt, realize the hurt of that, and find a way to go back and say, you were hurt too. Who said this to you? And what did that feel like?
One of the things I say when I do presentations, and I've traveled all over the world, one of the things I say is, who hurt you when you went natural? You know, the question will always arise, who hurt you when you went natural? Because we've all have scars around that issue. One of the questions I want to ask Sabrina, how has social media impacted the increase of hair discrimination, or has it?
That is a loaded question.
Oh.
The industry, there are a lot of brands out there that are working with everyone, but the industry is still very discriminatory when it comes to hair texture and colorism. So,
politics. Break that down for us, sister.
I mean, you know, again, I work with tons of brands, pretty much every brand, and I will send a variety. We're looking for a girl in Houston. They don't tell me dark, light, short, long. I will send them immediately someone who looks like me.
Yes.
Dark skin, thicker hair, wider nose, might be West Indian, might be from New York, whatever. They're like, oh, do you have anybody else? So I automatically say, what do you mean? What are you looking for? Well, we want longer hair, maybe 4A, but can they be lighter? So you're still getting the
type.
You're still getting that type. And I always tell people it's, I'm sure everybody knows what 4A means. I don't go by texture in my mind. I don't care what your texture is. It doesn't matter to me. As you know, it's a lot of other things that fall into play. Yes. But brands will say, I want 4A, I want this, I want that.
The key thing is this. That language was meant to talk to people about, because they want to distinguish for product.
Exactly.
It was the language that was meant for people who sell product.
Exactly.
We've taken it on as though it had a reality.
Like it's the Bible, like it's real.
But it's not real.
Not.
It's part of the mechanism for them selling
for them to sell,
the product.
To put you in a certain pocket.
Exactly.
So what ends up happening is, I always say, there is this Kelly Beyonce type conversation that's happening in the industry. They're both beautiful.
Yes.
But who stood out? And why did she stand out? So that's what's kind of happening in the hair industry. Right. There's a twist now all of a sudden on, I want the darkest girl with the nappiest hair.
Oh.
Which is, it annoys me, because now I feel like now you're dividing the 4 C's against the 3 C's and all that other stuff. But I think it's because we're now full of black girl magic and we want this back to Africa thing. And I'm like, is that a good thing? So that's where I'm coming from when I'm dealing with these brands asking for certain looks. I'm like, forget the look. It's all about influence And what is their engagement? What are their numbers? Let's get to that.
Let's get to that.
So it's become very interesting, and I have to deal with this daily.
Yes, and that's why I asked
Yeah.
you specifically,
Yes.
because you are, you're in it.
Yeah, and a lot of the brands who have the money are not Black owned. So the conversations I'm having are not with people that look like me. So automatically I'm on 100. Like, what you mean? You know, I go real hard, and then no, Sabrina, I didn't mean it like that. I mean, yeah, no. What did you really mean?
Yeah.
So that's a hard conversation to have with certain people.
Because this is a curse and a blessing. It's a blessing because it allows us to unite and bridge and connect. But it's a curse because if the person who's steering the wheel does not have good intention, then you are going to buy an empty box of dreams.
Yes.
You're going to have a bottle of shampoo that you think is going to enlighten your world, and all they're doing is, taking your money. And as you said before, the imagery to sell these brands are infinite, but they have chosen to limit us. So we have to decide which brands, how and when we want to use them, and what it means to us and our community. So Amber, I have a question for you. Tell us about the language that highlights cultural experience and aesthetics. Why is it necessary to be professional? Why is it necessary?
Well, I think
Or is it?
I think Loree touched on it earlier perfectly. When you're talking about the spectrum of professionalism, for them, and when I say them, I mean in a white supremacist culture, professionalism is a standard of white supremacy. So when we started to look at what we needed to do with this time and this crew at the Commission on Human Rights, we decided that we would be bold, we would talk about it, we would name hairstyles so that it wouldn't be a question, about locks, bantu knots, twists, braids, froze. And we had a longer list than that, but we was like, we're not gonna put out a whole,
The reason why it's important for you to read this guidance is because they have exactly the language. That when I saw the language, I was like, whoa, there's a sister at the table.
Yeah.
There's a sister at the table. It is so specific. It is so impactful when you read it. So I was like overwhelmed because it was so well written.
And we took it a bit further because at first we were looking at hairstyles. And then I said, wait a minute. I said, natural hairstyles really isn't the issue. Blackness is the issue. Because, somebody with relaxed hair can go and get faux locks all day long and will still get sent home, in some places, or will still get discriminated against at work. So it has nothing to do with treated or untreated. It's hairstyles that are associated with blackness. Right. So if you go and get your Afro synthetic or human mixed hair wig or whatever, your half wig, your fold over, whatever it is, you will still get discriminated against. And when you are, we want you to know that the commission is a place that you can come and seek some type of guidance, some type of refuge. So if you call 311 and you say human rights, they'll point you directly to us, and we can start that process. And Grace is here today. She is one of the lawyers in our law enforcement bureau.
Yes, Grace.
Brittany and I, give Grace her thing. Yeah, absolutely. And Brittany and I, we work in the policy hub. We're in the office of the chair, and we also have a community relations bureau. And Shay is also here too. She's
Shay.
Operations,
Stand up,
so
Shay.
she makes sure the lights stay on and we all of that stuff. But if you have issues where something is going on like now and you're not sure what to do about it, or something is going on even a year ago, right? If it's been a year ago. You can talk to Grace and start to see what it is that you need to be doing. So if it's something that's happening now, or you know of a student who's having an issue, or another coworker who's having an issue, talk to Grace. We all have cards too. We brought cards to make sure that you follow up on it and you get the support you need.
This is for the 3 hairstylists, Debra, Hare-Bey, Monae, and Monica. Have you ever had to change a hairstyle for a client that was apprehensive because they had to go to work or had an interview? Let's start. Monica?
Oh, absolutely. Is this on? This one? Absolutely. I'm not behind the chair now, but basically the hair natural epidemic started years ago, and people were just throwing their foot in, taking it out. Really wasn't a lot of products out. So people would try different things. And then they would kind of say, oh no, well, let me not do it. Let me take that 4 inches of new growth and maybe relax and let me try again. Like when it's not hot outside, or let me cut it, you know, like let me just meet the natural in the halfway. So when people would try to go natural and then get a promotion or a new job, they would change their mind. And it was a battle behind the chair because I dealt with people growing natural, because I went natural 20 years ago, before it was even cute. They told me to get weave, get braids, that what is going on? You know, they thought I was bugging because I was doing in the beauty industry and then I wanted a little tiny afro with little spikes of curls in it. So they were glad to see me and hopeful, so I was helping people transition. But when it came to something major in their life, they wanted to just stop that and try to see if we can relax it. There really wasn't good natural products to keep hair straight.
So you felt like it was every time there was an event or something major in their life, they would go back to what they were comfortable with.
And
safe.
But the anxiety of getting dressed or getting there would make their scalp puffy, and it'll revert, and that'll cause misery. So it was a huge deal. And then they say, just relax my hair.
One of the things I did...
Deb, tell them about International Braid Day, please.
So excited. So International I Love Braids Day is a day to celebrate, honor... Louder. I'm sorry. International I Love Braids Day is 2 days this year. So I'm over the moon because we have grown so well. International I Love Braids Day is about the
First of
beauty.
all, let me just say this. She got a proclamation from our city council, who?
Our borough president.
Our borough president, to actually have a day where we celebrate braids. That's amazing. Yes, go ahead.
I will say this. If you believe in something so strongly, please stay true to it. Who thought that I would have a day for braids? I could call myself a lot of things. I call myself a braider by choice because it is that important to me. It is part of our history, it's part of our culture, it is part of the air that we breathe, and it's okay.
Right? Thank you. So, Monae, Monae does high fashion. High fashion is now in a flux, right? Because they don't have enough people like her to work on black hair. And I don't know if you saw it recently in the news where the models were complaining and they were suffering and all these things because there weren't any hairstylists to address their needs. We have to clone Monae because she's one of them. So speak on that for us.
You know, I have a lot to say, you know, I managed a salon in DC for years and we were not allowed to wear our hair curly. And, you know, rather, it started from anti-blackness, but they changed it to anti-curly, so that meant they would rather see no one wear a curl in their hair than to allow our kinks. And that was an employer with, I believe, 40,000 employees. It was a corporate salon all over the country. I will say I was not as aware of anti-blackness and discrimination when I was in that area. When I moved here 7 years ago, I got a big educational treatment about a lot of different things. So I work now mainly with celebrities and brands and things of that nature. But I've been natural for 18 years, almost 20 years, but I used to wear my hair straight a lot. So when I would start to flip-flop it, like this time I don't feel like a weave, you know, a straight weave, maybe a curly weave or something like that, I would get asked, oh, I see you're natural now, you don't do straight hair anymore? Right. Or your hair's straight today, so we can't send the curly girls to you? And you know, I've been a business owner for many years, and you go into business for yourself thinking, okay, now I'm the boss, but that's not my experience. My experience is now you have a plethora of bosses, because every job, every set that I get brought into, I have a different boss, and I have to think, how am I going to wear my hair today to be able to keep my job? I don't have an HR to go to. So yes, it's upsetting when you go to work every day and they make you feel less than, but if I go to work one day and they don't like how I look, I don't get brought back the next day, and there's no one to talk to about this. And the more you express your discontent, you're the angry black woman who just can't get along with the rest of the crew. That's right. So, you know, where do you go? And I have a lot of very strong opinions, but I will say specifically with the issue of there not being hairstylists to address black hair in my opinion, it's misinterpreted that we need more black stylists. In my opinion, if you are a hairstylist, you should be able to do all hair textures. Don't hire me because I am a black woman to stand in the black girl corner and do black girl hair. I am required to do every hair texture. You wouldn't give me a second look. I have to work 4 times harder, but since they have decided they are unwilling to learn, now I'm here to catch up your slack. And people don't realize, I like to speak very bluntly, there are some amazing stylists that have worked very hard who might have a $5,000 a day rate. I'm not going to get into breaking that down. It's not as glamorous as it sounds, but $5,000 is a lot of money. Mm-hmm. If you're pulling in that amount of money per day, you're going to have assistants. So what many have figured out how to do is if they have a $5,000 a day rate, they might have an assistant and pay $200, $300. When you're an assistant, you don't get to claim the work. So they will bring in a newer, younger, or just someone more proficient in that hair texture, and then now they can claim that work. Mm-hmm. I'm all for assistants. I have a lot of them. My opinion is don't hire someone to placate their work under the guise of them assisting you.
Yes, yes.
In my experience, and I've been doing hair for a really long time, your comp card, I'm not sure if you know what that is. If you are a black woman and you have your calling card that is with black girls on it, the assumption is not that you can do everybody's hair. You can only do black people hair. And that is unfortunate because for white girls, when they have their comp card, the assumption is they can do everybody's hair. Same thing with makeup artists. So those are some of the things that we have to change.
That's an industry change, though. Actually, it's the other way around. Black stylists can do
everybody's hair.
You are 100%. You're 100% right. We would never get the option to be in a space if we could not do all hair. But their mind tells them if there's a black girl in your portfolio, you're probably black, and that's probably all you can do. Now, look, I want to get hired again for another job, so I don't want to talk too much. However, there are a lot of things behind the scenes that you guys would never know about, and I'm so fortunate now to work with some black celebrities who are like, don't put hate on my hair, and we're sticking with kinky hair, like actress Nanzamo from South Africa, or Dominique Fishback, or Victory. These are women that are saying the world needs to take me as I am. Don't contour me, don't straighten my hair, don't do this, don't do that. I might walk in with a 16-inch weave and blonde and this, that, and the other because hair is just an accessory. However, it's so amazing that we now have women who are standing on the main screen. Sonequa Martin Green is running prime time. A lot of people don't know that. She's the first black woman to star in Star Trek, and she's doing it with her natural hair. She is saying, accept me for my beauty. So we have people fighting on all fronts. All of us individually, bring different parts to this battle.
Can I just talk about the money loss? So if you are if you're a hairstylist and you decide not to put a black person on your comp card, which I did by choice, I can't even tell you how much money was lost because it was never consideration. So there's money taken out of your pocket because you specifically want to do what you want to do.
Great. I have one last question for everyone. I don't know if you know this, but this is what I feel, and I just want you to tell me if I'm right. I feel there's a correlation between the epidemic of hair loss, traction alopecia, with the rise of discrimination. I believe that there is a correlation between hair loss in our community and the biases that we are under. And so I want everyone to kind of go through that, a little bit at a time. We don't have much time, but please address that because there's an epidemic of hair loss. And even though many, many, many of us are natural, under that means so many things. Braids, weaves, locks, such and such and such. All those things put a lot of tension on the hair and scalp. And so I've noticed this, and I want to be able to ask people, have you had this experience as well? Okay. Debra.
So I agree with you 100%. However, I tend to think about hair in a different way. And so if I'm hair. If I'm on top of someone's head and all they talk about is, I don't like it, it's ugly, it's this, it's that, why would I want to be there? So that's the first thing, right? The stressors of what Diane mentioned, absolutely I think that can cause hair loss and does cause hair loss, as many other things does. But I do agree with you.
Well, I would say, just coming from a space of doing natural hair events and seeing a lot of younger girls, there is a delusion of what they want their hair to look like. That's true. Unfortunately, I see 12, 13-year-old girls with full-on wigs and weaves. And unfortunately, they're learning from YouTube. They're learning from the influencers. And I told a young girl the other day, I said, the influencers that I manage will take 2 days to make a video. You see 5 minutes. Yes. And we talked about this at my event. You're seeing the highlights. Yes. You're only seeing the best of. You're not seeing that the product didn't work or they had to use, got me glue and then they put some castor oil on top of it so that their hair wouldn't break off. So you're seeing these young girls doing it for themselves. Again, I only have sons, but I feel like a lot of mothers are not doing their daughter's hair. My mother did my hair till I was 16. Because she was like, what you're not going to do is leave out of my house looking crazy. So you have these young girls doing their own hair. They're doing shortcuts. They're damaging their hair. And by the time they go into your chairs, they're done. Once you get that shiny skin, and I had to tell this young girl the other day, her edges were gone. And I said, baby, you need to go to a dermatologist. Skip dermatologist. You need to go to a trichologist because you probably need shots. And it might not come back.
Scarred.
She said that was 3 years, and she was 16. So again, you have an epidemic of young girls who are losing their hair. Once you get to that state, the only thing you're going to do is keep on doing the wigs and the weaves. So we got to teach these girls at a younger age, like proper health care, proper hair care, internally, eating, drinking, stop going to McDonald's, stop drinking soda, taking multivitamins, just a whole plethora of things. Because when you get to my age, I need my edges. Okay? Let's be very clear. I'm not going to let anybody braid my hair and braid my eyebrows and leave out of there and in so much pain. But again, social media has created an epidemic. It has these young girls looking at Instagram, and I had a young girl say the other day, like, I want to know what Tina Knowles does for Beyonce. I said, Beyonce is rich. We don't know what wig she is wearing and how long she's wearing it for. That's right. Those braids were not hers. That was a wig. That's right. So again, we have to stop the foolery and the trickery. Point blank.
Just really quickly, obviously this has a huge impact on identity and self-esteem, and especially when we're talking about being this young and sort of what it means when mommy takes you to the hair salon and tells you that, forget the pain, every 6 to 8 weeks you have to do this thing that burns your scalp. But one of the things that I do is I go to graduate school programs, and so I was just at Johns Hopkins talking to residents who were in a community health program and really talking to them about talking to their patients about how, Black people, people of color, but Black people spend 9 times the amount of money on products. And what that means is that we're also exposed to way more chemicals and hormones. So our bodies are filled, Black people's bodies are filled with endocrine disrupting hormones from these chemicals. That's why there's a lot of uterine issues, reproductive issues, low birth weight, weight issue. I mean, the medical list is sort of endless. And, I'm looking at these young doctors and they're like, their mouths are open. And I'm like, y'all don't know this? You work in the front lines. These are community doctors. These are working the front lines in Baltimore. And you don't know what they're putting in their bodies. We're having a white doctor saying, well, I gave him research. I don't know if this research is convincing me that these products are bad. And I said, you know what? How about this? Go to after this event, go get some drinks, have some shots, and then buy a perm kit at the local store. And mix that right up and just take a whiff and then see if you want to put that and then tell me whether or not you think that this is a thing that a medical provider should be talking to their patients about.
Come on. Woo! I'm not a hair care professional. I'm not a hair care professional, but I am sort of a kitchen beautician. I've done my share of braids and twists and things like that, and swoops and buns and pin curls, you know. But I've seen situations where girls would, you know, create baby hair and edges and take the brush and dip it in the gel and slick it all the way back as much as they could to keep their fro from showing up, because they didn't want their hair to do what their hair was supposed to do, grow out, right? So, and when you continue to do that, put that bun, that donut, that peacock, and all of those styles that we used to wear back in the day in your hair, you start to see edges disappear. You start to see traction alopecia. And a quick story. 2 weeks ago, my 3 cousins from Birmingham came up, and we were eating at a restaurant up in Harlem, and we were talking about my work. So one of them works in marketing, one of them is a YouTube influencer, and the other one works as a recruiter for a college. And I was telling them about the hair guidance, because all of them had faux locks. Well, 2 of them had faux locks, the other one had braids. And I was talking about it. She said, and I said, traction alopecia, and I was talking about it. She said, wait, is that what this is? So she lifted up her braids and threw it to the side. And I said, not quite. I said, but you need to stop braiding it so tight. She said, well, I just don't want it to grow out so fast. And she works in marketing. She doesn't want it to grow out so fast. She doesn't want her roots to get puffy so fast, because she doesn't want her hair to do what it's supposed to do in that environment. So to say, yes, I'm not a hair professional, but from my experience,
There's
absolutely.
a correlation.
Yeah, it's a correlation.
Agree with everything said. I'll just throw something out there that just jumped in my head. A lot of people, you know, have jokes. Of course, pulling on your hair will pull it out. Look at somebody as popular as a Naomi Campbell. It was really funny when y'all saw the pictures of her on the beach and her wig blew back and she didn't have any edges.
It wasn't funny.
To me, it was not funny at all. A lot of people made jokes about it, but my opinion of why it's not funny is that was another sacrifice a black woman made for us to get somewhere. We have more black models on the runway. We have more of them on TV. A lot of people pretend like they don't care what's on the TV. We look at this, you know, to take examples of how we should look. Whether you admit it or not, you are influenced every which way from influencers, models, and things like that. And I find it so funny that a lot of us hate what makes us unique. And trust and believe, it took me a long time. My hair is actually very fine. I have what a lot of people would consider quote unquote good hair. And what I say about that is with good hair, you can't ever get it to do anything. At least with coarse hair, once you get it to the style, it'll stay. With my hair, it's like, if you ever get it there, I don't know. Maybe it'll stay, maybe it won't. So I look at people and entertainers who have scars and burns and marks. They have to wonder when they go sit on set, can somebody, you know, take care of them? Are they literally going to lose chunks of hair on set? Because think about this, when you watch a movie or something, it takes months, sometimes years to complete. They have to reshoot that same scene and look exactly the same. They may have needed to look exactly the same for 4 weeks. So that means they can't have the slightest bit of a kink. Every 2 weeks we relaxing or hot combing or something like that. So absolutely trying to conform leads to more alopecia. You know, hair is an accessory. Wear it how it works for you. If you got to jump up and fight it and beat it down every day, that style may not be the best for you.
I love it. Thank you. That was good.
So really quick, I worked on Broadway, so I have dealt with the best of the best wigs, $20,000, $30,000 wigs, and the quality of the wigs that these young people and everyone are using now is not even made for your hair. Some of the bases are ripping out hair, drying out scalp, causing hair loss around the edges, and the way you put it on, you don't put a wig on with glue, use pin curls or braid and hairpins. Like, I'm always educating and trying to tell people that wigs are not a sacrifice. Wigs are just an enhancement or something that you decide to do for today. But the way they're capitalizing and using wigs, these wigs aren't designed to put on your head because the base is designed to take out your hair, to get more wigs. So you gotta look at the psychological damage that these products are doing to you internally, and then people are just repeating the process. But people know that wear wigs, and I see wigs and they know me. I'm like, that is not even a wig. Like, you want to see some wigs? Let's go over here. And we're going to touch the butter wigs, and the wigs that you can't even tell is a wig on your scalp. So yes, alopecia is definitely a big part of it.
Yes. So I'm going to bring this back to our original concept that we have to make better choices. And we have to help our community make better choices. Many of us here are stylists. Many of us here are influencers. Many of us here work in the industry as makeup artists, as braiders, and so on and so forth. We are in charge of what's going on in our salons, what's going on in our homes, what's going on in our businesses. We have to be committed to having a healthier approach to hair care. And we know that racism is out there. We know that there's going to be discrimination. We've been dealing with this for over 400 years. When my grandmother passed, she died bald. She wore her hair covered for so many years. And she was cute though. She was cute because you know what she did? She took a piece of hair and she made a bang out of it. And then she wrapped her hair up, and then she had the bang and then the head wrap. And for all those years, as a little girl growing up, I never knew my grandmother had no hair. But she kept that image going because that's what she needed to go to work. And I believe that part of her hair loss came because she felt shame. She felt denied. She felt belittled. And so therefore, she kept her hair covered. We have the opportunity, we have the responsibility, and now we have laws that strengthen us and guide us through some of the turbulent times that we might have in our careers. I beg of you, and I urge everyone to be committed as I am to making sure that the next generation does not have to walk the same path that we have to walk. So thank you. Thank you for my panel. Thank you to New York City. I want to thank Tamika Taylor, part of the conversation, for having us here. We are incredibly thankful for the Center of Law and Social Justice. We are incredibly grateful to the New York City Commission of Human Rights, Shea Moisture, of course, my love, and Natasha Gaspard, Main Moves TV, the best.
The event today, I have no words. I just kept on, clapping and just, haranguing and just like giving good positive affirmations to everything that I was hearing, because it's everything that needs to be heard and needed to be said. And I was very, very, very proud that Diane chose these specific panelists so that, they can express on each area of careers, on what they're experiencing. That's the most important, so that other women can say, hey, I've experienced that. I work this place, I work that place. So it's not only clients and hairstylists and those who are, in the corporate world. It's so many aspects of this issue that we're having with our hair and politics that we have to address. These women who have been in this industry for so long, they have the experience. So I'm learning so much from them as a hairstylist, and I'm willing to teach it to the next generation, to those, my peers and those around me as well.
I thought tonight was amazing. I am so excited to see that we are having conversations not just about twist outs or blowouts or apple cider vinegar recipes, but we're actually talking about how to shift from just natural hair in general to natural hair activism, and how important it is that we not only have like activism in the streets and online, but that we also have partners in spaces like the New York City Commission on Human Rights and legislators and people who are able to take what we are fighting for and codify it into law in a way that we are protected. I thought tonight's conversation was fantastic. Both of the panels were riveting, and I'm saying that even though I was on one of them, not just to toot my own horn at all, but it is really important to be able to put activists and attorneys in a space where we can have this discussion. This is not just about fashion. It is not just about how big your blowout is or what type hair you have. It is literally about whether or not African descendant people have the ability to show up in the bodies that the universe designed for us to be in without being bothered, without being harassed, without losing our economic sustainability. In addition to thinking forward about how we become or return to becoming the business owners and the entrepreneurs and the job creators so that our people don't have to navigate these hostile racial spaces in other communities. One of the things that is so interesting to remember is that this is a New York City situation, right? So as we were having the panel discussion, the first panel discussion, one of the things that occurs to me is how does this differ if I live in New York City but I work somewhere outside of the city? So looking at the boundaries of the law and recognizing that it really is going to be important and incumbent upon people in other spaces that do not have the benefit of this type of legislation to begin getting your legislators, your elected officials, your city council persons, your local folk who have elected power to force this issue to the forefront. Again, this is not just about hairstyles. This is about being able to be fully black without having to hide and be apologetic. So having elected officials, be they white, black, Asian, Latinx, or whatever, if they are representing African descendant people, they need to be responsive to our issues, which includes our ability to walk around in our bodies while black without being upset and molested and bothered.
Events like this are absolutely crucial because it's one thing to have a new policy or a clarification of policy, and it's an entirely different thing for folks to understand that it's out there, that it's active, and that it's there to protect them. So we at the Commission, we take our law enforcement role seriously, we take our policy role seriously, but we also take our community outreach role really seriously. And so we're always thrilled to be a part of events like this so we can get the word out. One of the most thrilling and gratifying things about this work has really been to have people see and react to the guidance, and it's just been really affirming for everyone at the Commission, and we're super excited for folks to start using this and advocating for themselves, and also to help support people to do that.
One of the things that I walked away with is that every single black woman, every single woman of color that has textured hair has been affected by the biases and racial discrimination in this country. My passion, my drive, my real concern is that we start to heal and we start to grow from this horrible biases that we have to face. So, see you soon. We're going to do more. We're going to talk about it more, and we're going to try to go across the city and across the country with the facts that we have the right to wear our hair the way it is, as it grows out of our heads.